I need to think through the episode. Oh, I forgot to do the countdown once again. Oh man, what a start to the live show. We are live on Thursday night, Star Wars Newsnet Live. This is what happens, everyone, when you are disgruntled before you hit the live show button. Here to talk Star Wars The Acolyte episode 7 tonight. This is what happens.
Way to
When
go, Tyler.
you this is what happens when you are having problems before a live show. You forget to hit the countdown timer to get everyone in here ready to go and excited before. I'm in a different location this week. For those of you watching, it's pretty obvious, probably not in my usual, room, my Star Wars stuff. I am actually in Luke's second bedroom, so Luke is about 30 feet away from me right now. He says something. If he says something ridiculous on the stream, I'm walking out of here. You're gonna see me on his screen. I'm slap him from behind. That's what's gonna happen.
I'm gonna come up with so many bad takes today just because of that.
Fly out of here, and
so
it's gonna be great. We'll see. We're gonna come up with normal takes today. Star Wars: The Acolyte, Episode 7. Probably the second most important thing that we're talking about tonight. Number one is to my Uber driver, Tyrone. If you are watching the live stream somehow, maybe you're a random Star Wars Newsnet lover, Tyrone. If you are out there, I need my indoor water bottle back. I left it in the back seat of your car like 2 hours ago. Please. My girlfriend, who gifted that to me on my 27th birthday this year, said, please don't lose this one. Because, yes, I have lost a previous water bottle gift. So please, Tyrone, save the rebellion. Save
your
the dream.
only hope.
You are my only hope. I need you to come through for me. So that's the first order of business. I'll be, asking Tyrone to, again, later on at the end of the show. But Acolyte, episode 7. We are one episode away from this whole thing being completed. And that just is shocking to me. So we're going to get into all of that tonight. I am super excited to talk about everything from the episode. But Luke, Jay, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking time out of your Thursday night to hop on. Luke, how are the vibes over in the main common area of the apartment?
Vibes are fantastic. We've got the cat. My cat is very upset that she can't be in there with you because she is obsessed with you, actually, more than me. And we're feeling good out here. We're ready to talk about episode 7 and how interesting of an episode that it was. Let's put it there.
It certainly had its moments, to be sure, but lots of interesting things to talk about. Jay, how is the humidity in Hawaii? Like, what are the vibes like over there outside the continental United States of America?
Great question.
Yeah, no, it is very muggy right now.
Really?
Yes. I was explaining this for those of you watching. I was explaining this a little bit earlier to the guys here, but yeah, storm's coming in, but hasn't been like full on rain yet. So the storm has just been blocking all the wind from coming in from the oceans. So it's a bit humid, but that's nothing. It's just nothing that we're not used to here in Hawaii. Doesn't mean that it's uncomfortable though.
Of course. So instead of my normal indoor water bottle, we have the Georgia Street Grind. Shout out to the GSG from Indianapolis coming through in the clutch. Thank you, Madison, Luke's fiance, for gifting me this water bottle for the interim. Shall we get into some Acolyte episode 7 this evening?
Titled Choice.
Titled Choice, because we all have choices to make in our lives, like whether to forget things in Uber drivers' vehicles or not. Okay, I'm done. I have to get out my chest.
I'm a big fan of running jokes. I would love it if you just did it the entire night. I'm being so serious.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Luke, where was this episode for you this week? Scale of 1 to 10. 1 being this was, the worst thing ever. 10 being Han Solo just blew up the Death Star and saved the rebellion.
So the past 2 episodes, I have gone with really solid 8s. If not wanting to push them higher, but those were 8s. So I'm going to go with this one. I landed at a 7.
Surprising.
I thought I still enjoyed it. I still had a great time watching. And we got some questions answered. I feel like we didn't get some answered questions as well, and we even spawned some new questions. So it was okay.
There's so many new questions. So many.
So yeah, that's where I'm sitting. I can't wait to get into those.
Okay, so we have Luke at a 7. That brings us to Jay. Where are we at, Jay? I know you're at a 10.
No, I'm not at a 10.
Because he's at an 11.
No, I will say though that this is one of the more, like, I would rate this like as one of the more higher episodes. I'd possibly even put this up there with episode 5 with the lightsaber battles at an 8. This is an 8 for me.
Okay.
I think that I really like the revelations and like the story bits, and some of the really interesting key moments and decisions that were made. And yes, I can't wait to get into it. So yeah.
Jedi Punk 85 saying it literally breaks the lore. Please tell me how later. Just curious. I have a question in terms of my like rating for this show or this episode, because from like a singular episode standpoint, if you take out everything else in the series, just one episode, singular episode, thought it was really good. Like I really enjoyed it for the most part.
Okay.
But I feel like I cannot give it that rating given where it falls in the series and what I know that has happened. So I'm going with a 3.5. I'm going with a 3.5.
Tyler. Okay.
And this is why. And I will say this. I enjoyed the episode. Like I genuinely did enjoy my time watching the episode and Star Wars. Like I'm not on watching these things going like, I want to critically analyze every little piece of everything. No, I'm here for the vibes. I'm here for a good time. I enjoy Star Wars. Like, let's do this. While also coming on here and having to do this from a critical lens. But 3.5, and it has nothing to do with the quality of, I think, the episode. I think the episode in itself has a lot of quality. But when we've built up from episode 5 and episode 6, and then we do this sharp back turn where there's nothing in the episode with the present. There's nothing in the episode that ties us to the present. And we're supposed to be watching. So that makes me think I have to be watching this through the perspective which we left the last episode, which is Master Soul telling May, I'm going to tell you what happened. And everything that happens here is pretty much May already knew about all of this. Like May knew that, he killed the mother. She's right there. And there was really nothing new about this other than the fact that maybe he's telling her, like, and we're seeing how much he had this connection to Osha and was trying to force this relationship almost and looking for any possible way. And it loses the momentum from episodes 5 and 6 by being so completely detached from it. This should have been an episode coupled at the beginning with 3, and telling both of these perspectives, leading to this revelation that Osha and Maeve both find out like these things and help us build their arcs. Or they should have had this where Chimere and Soul are both telling this to Osha and May. Because I do not care what May thinks about what happened. Like she already hates Master Soul, and everything he's telling her is only going to fuel that fire. But the person we really want to see have a reaction to this is Osha. Osha is the one that we want to see react to what Soul is saying. And so him coming clean with this, but Osha's reaction not even being a part of the episode after everything we poured into the stranger, into Chimera and Osha's relationship last episode, to get nothing on that when it's talking about this, to me just felt completely disjointed from the rest of the series. And that's not to say I did not freaking love like watching Kelnaka and Torben and Soul go at it. That was really cool to watch a Wookiee Jedi in action. Like I enjoyed this for what it was, but in the taking in the series as a whole, it just really didn't make sense to me that we need to go back to Brindok for an entire episode and not give anything to the present at all. When it feels like the majority of the fandom like was moving on. We were all moving on in this Brindok phase. So that's why I have it so low. So I don't want you to think Tyler has a 3.5 and he hates everything about this episode, because that's not true. My criticism of it being a 3.5 is just because I don't think it makes sense what they're trying to sell me right now in the context of the series as a whole right now. I just don't think that I can buy that. Maybe that changes after episode 10, but right now 3.5. And I told Luke, I told him I enjoyed the episode more the second time I watched it.
I have a question for you.
Go for it.
Do you think, how much better would you view this episode if it had been just placed as episode 4 in the series? So 3, and then we go into this, and then we move on and we get, does it change much for you?
Because why are we doing 2 back-to-back flashback episodes and then
That's
coming back?
Fair.
They should have just done one big flashback episode,
like a 60-minute episode.
like both sides of the story, and then you get into the big episode in the present leading up to the reveal of Chimere.
Okay.
And that's the end. 2 big episodes. Like you have the first two, 3 and 7. You push these together, and that's like a big arc. And then 4 and 5 are one episode. And then if you want to have, the finale is like maybe that Soul has shared this now with Osha or May, and you build off of that, because it just doesn't make sense to me. Like we're supposed to be. It just feels like we're backtracking without, like, the person who needs to experience that story is Osha, but that's not who is getting the story at all.
Yeah.
So just from a character perspective, it just didn't make sense to me why we're doing that. And that's not to say the story of Brindok wasn't interesting, because it really was interesting.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand the nature. What about you, Jay?
I see what you're saying, but also I think that it's also just like from a story perspective and from like a storytelling perspective. I think that like by separating the two, you kind of, it's interesting. Like I've used this analogy before, and I wish again Miguel was here, but it is very much Last of Us Part 2, where there is a lot of information that is withheld from the viewer early on up front. And we don't, there are a lot of things that happen early on, but there's no context given. And what that does is it makes the reader, or it makes the viewer or the player or whatever form their own preconceived notions about what happened. And then like as time goes on, it's up to the story, the game, the show, whatever, to kind of try and buy back your trust and trying to like show you and maybe even break down some of those preconceived notions. That being said, The Last of Us Part 2 is very divisive. And, I think even the show, The Acolyte, we know that the Acolyte is divisive itself. So I think that a lot of people are going to really like these episodes. A lot of people are going to like the storytelling and like the way it's structured. But I think a lot of people also are, like you, probably have some frustrations. It's funny, though, because I did not like The Last of Us Part 2. Sorry, Miguel. Miguel Fernandez, our editor-in-chief, one of our lead guys, he loves The Last of Us and loves The Last of Us Part 2. I'm sorry, I did not like that one. Funny enough, though, I really like this episode. I don't know. I think that, I see your point, Tyler. Like, the one who really needs to hear this is Osha, and Soul in the story is telling it to May, who already has seen this. But I think that there's something kind of interesting about like having, again, like we as the audience having to play judge. We're having to play judge, and we're having to try and find what is the truth. Right. But the thing is, and I watched this, with my dad, and then we were talking about it afterwards. But even he was like, okay, what's actually true or not? And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle between both stories, where we really don't know what's exactly, like, again, both are probably telling their own perspectives, and they're both probably right. But we just don't.
Right.
We will never actually know what
I don't disagree.
really happened. Yeah.
I don't disagree about the storytelling. I love that level of storytelling.
Sure.
But to have the flashback, we're building up to the present. We just spend this really intense episode with Chimera and Osha, and then to have absolutely nothing from the present tie into who is supposed to be the main character of the show, it doesn't make sense to me because it's about the Acolyte, Osha and May are supposed to be our main
Sure.
characters. May knows
Right.
this. If there was some sort of tie-in to Osha understanding this, because now how is Osha going to learn about this other than just is Soul going to rehash this to her in episode 8? Is May going to now rehash this to her in episode 8? If they had done, we talked about this last week. I said it'd be nice if they did like a dual storytelling where maybe Chimera knows what happens and he's telling Osha while Soul is trying to not relieve himself of the guilt, but come clean to May that, hey, I chose, because the big thing is like he chose Osha over her. And like that's a massive thing because May already knew. She watched him kill her mom. But the whole choosing Osha over her, she didn't know that. But she already hated his guts. Like she already hates him. Like that's not gonna. She's trying to kill him. Like that's not gonna change just because he now comes clean and he's like, I've been dealing with my heartbreak over this for so long. And I appreciate the development of Soul's character and that we're learning this and we have to decide for ourselves. But it ultimately, I just feel like when you if they had more episodes to play, I'm fine with it. But the fact that there's only one episode left and it didn't feel like anything that happened in the penultimate episode is really playing a part in what the season is supposed to be giving us at the end.
I think Josh also probably sides a little bit with you as well. Josh Atkins, who just did our review of episode 7 that's up on our website right now, he said something similar where he felt like the revelations weren't as earth-shattering. And I personally disagree, but I do see where you guys are coming from, where it's like, this flashback sequence, it doesn't actually have too much of an impact on the present storyline.
It just feels weird. We go back in time and we know that we learn what Soul did, but like the revelations with the twins, it just seems like there should have been some more connective tissue done to the main story that we're going to see in 8. And I'm like a big proponent of, I don't want to judge these episodes before, a series before it comes out. It just seems like there's a lot of legroom. It's different than versus like in episode 3 or 4, we're talking about this. The finale is next Tuesday and they have so much ground to cover. And we know it's not going to be any longer than 40 minutes. And so, how are you going to tie all this in 40 minutes and wrap a bow on it? Luke, I'm going to throw this one back to you. And then we'll get into Arjun's comment.
You're making really good points. And I don't really even disagree with you. I think it's an odd choice that there isn't much, like you said, connective tissue. So, it's a little hard to see why we threw it back and got these perspectives in episode 7. I feel like we now just actually have, I feel like it makes 8 have to do even more work than it already was going to have to do. It already had its work cut out for it to wrap up this show. As Leslie Headland has said, like completely, like we're going to not leave anything hanging out there. This is going to be its own story. And so I'm like, man, that feels like an even bigger ask than what I thought it was going to be when we ended episode 6. So I keep choosing positivity. I think, but it's going to be good. I'm positive that 8 is going to satisfy me. I don't know if it's going to completely satisfy me, but I think it's going to be okay. Yeah, the choices with Master
What is
Soul.
okay? What does that mean that they're gonna do this like well? And I've been a big supporter of this show. Not necessarily. I've rated some episodes fives, 5.5, a lot of them. But from the standpoint of like I'm enjoying this and I'm still wanting to see. That didn't change this week. I just felt like it doesn't feel like I don't watch that episode. And I don't know if you guys feel differently, but I didn't watch the episode going, this is the penultimate episode. It all comes down to this and like what's gonna happen next week. And it felt like last week got us to the point where we were ready. We were ready for this episode 7. And then it felt like we backtracked and we lost some of our momentum without
Yeah,
gaining enough to move forward.
I can see that. Sure.
That's
And
kind of where I'm at. I'm
yeah,
like, I was super invested in the Kamir Osha storyline and what Soul is going to do. That spending the entire episode just to like know why Soul, see what Soul did, then I'm okay. But so MB Wilson says just got to tie Vernestra to Chimere and then both of them to Brindock. No worries. Here's the problem though. Again, we have one episode, and now we didn't spend any time with Vernestra and Chimera in last episode. And the priority is making sure that Osha finds out about this. Like we need Osha to learn about what happened on Brindock. We have to do that. We have to, and so supposedly that's going to come through maybe Chimera in this situation if he's tied to Brindock. But then are we going to hear this story for a third time, a fourth time? And we have to tie Vernistra and Chimera together while also doing Soul and Osha's reunion. Soul and May have stuff to work out. There's just so many threads here that I'm wondering under the current formula that we have, which is I'm expecting probably a 35 to 40 minute episode. Do you have enough time to thread all of that together? I don't know if you do. And that's something that Jay wrote about in his editorial that got published today about, should Star Wars get rid of the weekly release model, which, I think that would be a great Star Wars Newsnet Live topic here in a few weeks when the Acolyte is completed. Like, I think that would be a great one. RG says, do we think that there is a Sith perspective to what happened? And I want to throw this to you guys. I don't really think so at this point because, again, how many perspectives are we going to get of what happened on Brindock?
Right.
Need Luke, do you think there's a chance we could see a Sith perspective coming in here?
I don't think there is a Sith perspective. I think it was kind of the witch's perspective in episode 3. I think this was more of the Jedi perspective in episode 7. And oddly enough, after this episode, now that I'm kind of processing stuff, you're saying that like the goal here is like to get Osha to know this information. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, is that how in the world is that going to happen? Because like someone's going to tell her this and we, the audience, are going to hear this for the 3rd time or 4th time. And I'm like, is that a good decision to make as a writer? Or like, does she need to know this? Because I feel like there's Chimera stuff to do. And I'm like, how high on the priority list even is it to get Osha to get this information? I think it's up there, but like there's other stuff.
Maybe she doesn't need to know. Maybe she's going dark and that's it. And it's more of Soul confessing himself to May, who already knows what he's done for the most part outside of choosing Osha. And it's like, I'm confessing this to you. But again, it was this. See, to me, the things that don't make a lot of sense is we see Soul have this incredibly, like Lee Jung Jae delivers a incredibly impactful, like nuanced performance full of emotional depth in episode 6 without even speaking a whole lot.
Yes.
And this is supposed to be like him telling May what happened in a sense. And we don't ever see resolution from that. Like, I would have loved to see something at the end of this episode and it ties it back to the present. And there's maybe just a few minutes of maybe says nothing. Maybe there's no words said afterwards. And they're just exchanging this like look. I don't know what it is, but tying it back
I would feel like it would catapult us to 8.
To the
feel like it would lead us to 8.
You do something that catapults you there, and then maybe just a quick shot It doesn't even have to be that long, but just a few minutes with Chimera and Osha to show that something is happening there. It doesn't have to be, a lot, but just a little bit to where we end the episode with our eyes set towards the present and what's happening in the finale versus we're still in this like the past here. But
I would agree. Yeah, it feels like I don't even know where episode 8 is going to start. What scene what planet are we going to be on? And I would, not that I have to know that, but I would kind of like to know if there's going to be time passed between 7 and 8 where I don't know. It feels like we're going to pick up randomly, and I don't know if that's going to go over well. So that's kind of why I'm at a 7. That I did enjoy it, but there's definitely things that I think could have been definitely better. So this is some of that stuff.
So let's go ahead. Let's move beyond our rating. Let's get out of the muck here a little bit. Let's dive into some of the points of this episode. I don't really want to go frame by frame to the episode today because I think there were some really good performances in this episode. And I figured let's just have a conversation about some of the performances here. And then maybe we can move further beyond and talk about some key moments. Like, I mean, I know we all want to get into some of the that action sequence with Kanaka and Torben and Soul. That was very good. But I actually want to start with Jodie Turner-Smith as Mother Anastasia. She was fantastic in the third one. And I have to tell you that maybe my favorite moment of the series so far was when she said that she chose Mother in this instance and was choosing to prioritize Osha even over the group because that's her kid and she wants what's best for her kid, despite that it may not be what they need. And the scene where she is in Torben's mind was so creepy and just horrific. And I thought she was fantastic there. So let's spend a moment. Let's talk about the performance of Jodie Turner-Smith as Mother Anastasia, and then like what happens with Mother Anastasia, ultimately leading to her death. And we can talk about the Force stuff that's going on with her, and like the black mist, I guess, is what we'll call it when they're turning into the whatever. I don't really know what to even describe that as right now. But Jay, let me throw it to you. What did you think of Mother Anastasia in this episode? Is my favorite part of the episode.
She was good. I don't think I actually wasn't. I didn't find her to be my favorite part personally. I think like my favorite performance was the actor who played Torben actually. I think that he convinced me very much so. Like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is your rash young Jedi Padawan who isn't really prepared to go out on missions and ready to go out on this field work and to do field work. But no, I think I'll tell you what really like I enjoyed from Mother Anastasia though was the fact that like you said, she chooses to let Osha go, despite again what you said, like where this isn't what the rest of the coven says. And I do actually like the line where she says when Master Soul, after he stabs her, where she does admit, like, no, I was going to choose you. And it shows that like this was just one big misunderstanding. I thought that like that was really something. And I again, like I'm just going back to that thought though. Yeah, like this was just one big, huge, misunderstanding that could have been resolved very easily had more.
Had the Jedi not been hell bent on overreaching, and you don't think so?
Well, I don't like. Here's the thing. I don't know if I don't know if it's overreach. I don't know what it really was. Sure. I mean,
it's projection. Until like he heard what he wanted to hear from that and went to the assumptions that he wanted to, and because he's a Jedi, he felt also that it gave him the moral authority to make that decision as well, and taking the actions that he took that put him in the position to make a action out of fear.
Well, aren't also the witches in the wrong in a sense too? I'd say that to some degree. I think the witches.
Yes, but the witches' home hadn't been broken into multiple. The witches' home had been broken into multiple times by the Jedi. The witches weren't inviting the Jedi over for dinner. It was the Jedi slicing into their home uninvited. The Jedi scaling the walls of their home and jumping down, thinking that they're going to kidnap their children.
But if children are possibly in danger and you are the police of the universe, quote unquote, isn't there to some degree like some motive at least to doing so? I mean, that's what I think.
But see, like that's like investigation, but like that's the point, is the Jedi are more than just the cops of the Republic. I think Indara says it best, like when Master Soul's like, I just want what's best for Osha, and Indara's like, that's not your decision. Like you don't get to decide what's best for Osha. And I think it's like a good point that like even if you have the best of intentions and if you think you're doing the right thing, it doesn't mean that you are, like in terms of how you communicate with people and what you do after. It's definitely like, it's like when MB Wilson says here, noble intentions. Like Soul even says, we come here with noble intentions, and that's true. I don't think Soul is ever like intentionally like, I'm gonna use my Jedi authority to do this. But I think because he is a Jedi, and there is a level of like this moral authority that he has with the intentions that he's coming with, I think it puts him in the position. And it's a case of like the Jedi just, having overreach, and Mother Anastasia saying those noble intentions are going to get every single Jedi in the galaxy killed one day. Luke, I'll throw it to you now. Mother Anastasia, JNR, a little bit different playing field here on this one. So, be the balance.
Breaking the tie, leading the path between. Jodie Turner-Smith has proven that she's just killing this role. Like, she is a great actor. In my opinion, I think she's doing really well with this. And I think the thing that stood out to me from this episode from her was the shots that we get, the scene that we get inside of Torben's head, of this kind of seduction to the dark side. Mm-hmm. And it feels, I think I've seen this said, that it feels like a kind of old school vampire where like they can't come into your home unless you invite them in. And so
that's really good.
She's not really forcibly taking over him or his mind. She is kind of getting him to really beg for what he is really truly wanting, to go back to Coruscant. And so this might be a reach, but in episode 6, we see this attractive man, Chimere, kind of like showing like seduction to the dark side. And I think that this was kind of another iteration of that with Mother Anastasia. Like, I don't know, it probably was just me, but like, it felt like the scene inside of Torben's head was like kind of seductive to him. Like she was twirling around him. She's offering him something.
She's offering him something he wants, which is
so it felt like another iteration of this seduction to the dark side, which we haven't really seen in other projects. So I thought that was really interesting, just how the dark side can work, and even with these people, this coven of witches who aren't Sith, that are trying to overtake the galaxy with bloodshed. They're still Darksiders. It's still bad, taking over someone's mind that we now know wasn't exactly against his will. So it kind of even gave them a better light. And
I would love to see where they're getting their power. Like, where does this?
That is another question that was majorly raised and didn't get answered. Is like, what is the black mist?
Where is this Virgins coming from? What is the black mist that's happening? Like, is that when they go and they are about to do some sort of possession? Because Anastasia does that, and then May starts disappearing a little bit.
And like, so I was questioning: is May even consenting to this happening to her? What is happening to May? Is that Mother Anastasia doing that to her, or is May joining in with this? I was really interested to see, or just get to know more about this power. And I guess Leslie Headland decided it's not really important for us to know this stuff, but it was an interesting device to use during the episode. So
here's the thing. with that. And I get there are times when we do not need to know everything in Star Wars.
Right.
We don't need to always know what's happening. We don't need to know how we got to each single point. I love not having things explained to me all the time, but there's a difference between not explaining something and then kind of having these weird loose ends. It feels like this, similarly to Ahsoka, I have been given what is on like the table, like in front of me, is this beautiful, grand, epic Star Wars adventure, like Star Wars story. And it's right there, and I can see the vision. But what I'm getting is like the triple dipper appetizer at Chili's. Like I'm getting the appetizer like version of it. I'm getting to sample all of the great entrees, but I'm not actually getting the actual entree that I want. And it's like Star Wars, appetizer extraordinaire. It's like bottom.
So then you're left to go get Qdoba afterwards.
No, yes. Oh my gosh. I've made the mistake, Jay, of ordering. Like we went to this nice restaurant, some friends and I, and I'm visiting, Luke, I'm visiting Indianapolis to see some friends. Nice restaurant. I eat a lot of food, and the 3 shrimp tacos with a side of corn probably wouldn't fill me up like it should. And I'm like, I know this, but I make the dumb decision to do this anyway. And then I get back and I'm like, I need to order Qdoba. Like I'm still hungry. Like, so I'm door dashing food. It's literally waiting for me in there as soon as we're done with this. I'm gonna go eat it. Now I'm eating at 11 o'clock. I won't be able to sleep because I'm an old man now, I guess. Regardless, Star Wars appetizers is what we're getting here with these last shows. And I truly believe that we've seen that consistently in Disney Plus Star Wars for the most part. Andor, not a problem. Mandalorian, season 2, I would say even season 1 and 2, not an issue. I think that the storytelling is great in season 2, really solid in season 1. Season 3 is a little bit, different in that regard. But, it's about 50-50 split. I think that the vision's always there with Star Wars. Like I've never watched one of these shows and not been able to like see the vision of what they're going for. And I like this idea in this show, but it just feels like I said, the connective tissue, there are some pieces missing. It's not like woven together neatly. Like you go watch some other shows and it feels like you have this grand epic story that each episode is just kind of woven together in a nice, neat way. I'm curious, Jay, what do you think is the solution to that problem?
Oh, you're gonna throw that to me? I think, well, first off, I think the solution is like what I suggested in my editorial. It's making these episodes worthwhile for the wait. It's making sure that what you're putting on the platter, going back to the food analogy, like that one, that's worth the wait, but also two, that there's actually like cohesiveness and conclusiveness to some of these story arcs. Because I think and what's interesting was my editorial actually has already gotten quite a few comments, but many people have already resonated the fact that like, look, we need to have like conclusive endings to these episodes where it doesn't feel like it's just being chopped up. Sorry if you guys hear like the leaf blower in the background. I had to go. There's a like one of what like people are doing stuff around in my apartment building. Anyways, hopefully you can still hear me.
You're good, yeah.
No, I mean like I think that and I brought this up in my editorial, but you look at some of the other better, more popular franchise series as well that is going right now. The one being House of the Dragon. Like you have these long episodes that are almost like an hour, if not an hour long, and then they feel like they were meant for television. Here in the Acolyte and in Ahsoka, if they feel like 8-hour movies that are just divvied up nonchalantly, and we've gotten back to that more than once as well. But yeah, no, I think and also too, like get all of your people who are working on Star Wars projects all in one room and have them all work together and come up with cohesive ideas that blend in well with one another. And in all honesty, I think like I was planning on doing a editorial on the High Republic books, because that's one thing that the books and comics have done pretty good at. Like they're pretty good at is the fact that these are all different stories. These are all different writers, you know. And the thing is, they all get in one room and say, here's what we're all going to do. They're all different projects. Convergence, you know, like one of my favorite, you know, yeah, thank you. You know, like, I'll just hold one of these up. Convergence.
Let's all hold our High Republic books.
Yeah, these are all like, let's
Is that my copy of The Last Jedi?
In episode 7.
Is that my copy of The Last Jedi, or Light of the Jedi?
Sorry, no, this is mine.
Oh, okay. Mine's somewhere in that living room, I know.
But you know, the fact is like the story of Convergence is far different from Path of Deceit, but they all still feel interconnected and interwoven.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't all the directors, why can't you know, James Mangold and Dave Filoni and everyone and like Leslie Headland sit in a room together and say, hey, this is what we're all gonna do. You can here's your leeway, here's what you can work with within your movie or a TV show or whatever it is. But then here's still like the unified vision that we want to do. I don't know. Yeah, it's just
I don't need all the different directors. I just mean like, but in general for the show, it's just weird that we don't have a cohesive like episodic structure at this point in Star Wars.
Yes,
I will say that. Let's talk about Master Soul for a minute. Like, let's talk about him. This episode is all about Soul. I want to know from you guys. We talked last week. The last thing we talked about on this live show was what was going to happen with Soul and how divisive was it going to be in terms of like who's a fan of Soul, who's not. And I've seen both sides. There's some people out there like, how could you possibly be a Soul supporter, a member of the Soul Patrol, after what you saw, because he's literally sacrificing another child just because he's formed an emotional attachment to another. He literally murders the mother she's trying to help. He doesn't know that, for instance, but he's trying to help. He kind of starts this whole thing by barging in once again to their home. And then there's the other people that are like, you know what? It's a misunderstanding. Like, if in the split second you're trying to protect, you think this child's in danger, you see her start disappearing and this person's like doing this crazy Force stuff, maybe you would react. And he can't hold up the structure on his own, so he's like had to make a tough choice. And you know, so I've seen both sides of this story. Now, Jay, Mr. Soul Patrol hater so far.
I've never said that.
You've been a staunch hater since day
one. You were on. I'm just saying you were on the end last week that Soul was gonna do something like irredeemable.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
So I'm curious, did that come true for you? Is Soul like, where are you at right now?
I think he had a real selfish choice. And there was no way he was gonna make the quote unquote right decision in that situation. Like it's one of those. It's a catch-22.
What about with the mother?
No, because I think that, like you said, he doesn't know what she had planned going on right there. And, you know, if I'm a Jedi, and if I see some dark magic sort of like, you know, like crazy mist going on too, I'm thinking, like, I better stop this and take out like my lightsaber and put it, like, make sure no one gets hurt. Yeah, no, I don't think he's irredeemable at this point. I'll say this from last week though. I kind of like I think that he was going to have an irredeemable moments, partly because like I think that would make the story more interesting, and that would actually like make me like understand and side with May more. But yeah, no, I don't. I think he's totally like justified in some of his actions.
So Envy Wilson says here, he's like, did no one else think that Soul had no intention of harming, Mother Anasea? He was freaked out, reacted poorly. I don't think anyone's on here going like, man, Master Soul was looking for blood. He was ready to dive that lightsaber right through her chest. I'm not suggesting that, but just the fact that he's put himself in that position, and then that's, you know, how you react. Like, just because you didn't mean to do something does not mean that what you did should not have incredibly dire consequences. And like, I'm trying to think of like another example in Star Wars where someone's like, what they wanted to happen, what they thought they were trying to do, it just did not work out like the way it was
Elzar
supposed to.
Man, Fallen Star.
I was trying to think of a non-book example, because
Okay,
it's
sorry.
Elzar Man is definitely like the comparison with Sol and
Multiple
Elzar
times.
is 100% accurate. Because I think, yes, he looked shocked when she reappeared as like a solid individual, but at the same time, it's like, what did you think was gonna happen? Like, you're taking your lightsaber in there, like you
Kind of like Rey
reacted
and
poorly.
Kylo on Kef Bir, maybe.
She like, and she's like, oh my gosh, and she felt Leia. I get that, but at the same time, I'm not saying that he's trying to harm her. I'm still as I like, you know, I'm gonna like Master Soul. I think he, you know, he's just made some horrible decisions. But like, this man needs to, he got to be like, there's got to be some consequences, because he is essentially responsible. He bears the brunt of the blame for what happened there. And do the people on the internet really think that Soul was like going into this intending to kill her? Like, and to me it seemed like just like a quick reactionary thing that is horrible. Like, you know, what are you doing? And it's like someone with his level of training should know better. But Luke, I'll throw it to you. What did you think of Soul throughout this episode?
Man, I have been a really big Master Soul fan. Before the show even aired, I was like, I think I love this character already. And so this one hurt a lot, because he did not make good decisions. He did have the best intentions. And I kind of thought it's kind of cool to see that there's a little reversal here where Mother Anastasia is showing that she has the capability to let go of what she fears of losing Osha, and it's really Master Soul who is forming the attachment that is against the Jedi Code. It's really Mother Anastasia showing a better adherence to the Jedi Code than even Master Soul. I thought that was kind of just an interesting little play to make. But yeah, I know that he had the best intentions. I know he does mean the best, but he made bad choices, and he put himself in bad spots where there probably wasn't even the option to make a good decision. It was just damage control at that point. So as someone who was really wanting him to just be this flawless, like best character ever, he never made any mistakes. It's not true, and that sucks because I wanted it to be true.
You could say he's a real Joe from The Last of Us.
you could.
You know who's getting too much blame is Torben. He's getting getting way too much blame, because what does Torben really do? Master Soul catches.
He's very impulsive.
Master Soul catches up to Torben before they enter into the like sanctuary, or whatever the compound. He reaches him before, and Torben's like, we can't in, it's locked. And Soul's like, don't worry, man. I got it here before. We're just gonna climb up this wall. And he's like, come on.
all right.
So like, he's the master in that situation. And like, I expect the untrained Padawan to be a dummy in this situation.
He's ready to part two.
Like, he goes off. And yes, that's dumb and shouldn't have done that. But Master Soul, like, you're in charge. You are the master. You can subdue this kid if you need to, if he's being stupid.
Okay.
But you're like encouraging and feeding into his like anxieties and what he's wanting by like, hey, let's scale the wall. We're going in there. We're gonna get what's ours, you know, and we're gonna make this happen. And like, I feel like Torben's like bearing a little bit more. He's with 3 Jedi like masters, and like he rushes off without a plan. I think sometimes we get so accustomed to these Padawans that are just like, we see so many of them that are so wise beyond their years. Like the most prominent, like we're seeing Ahsoka. We saw Jackie in this show, like, you know, who's probably not doing the same thing. There are some dumb Padawans out there. Like, we've seen some dumb Padawans out there before. But like I think Torben, if Torben had rushed ahead of Soul and then barged in, and Soul is like running in after him, then like yeah, Torben, like come on. But Soul did catch him before he goes in, and
Right.
he's like, "Here's your grappling hook. Here's our climbing gear. Here's the little like metal hand things that Tom Cruise used in Mission Impossible 4 to like scale the tower. We're gonna use all of that to make sure that we get inside. That's the problem. And you know what? Shout out to Torben for whipping that lightsaber around like a freaking badass. That was
Dean
fantastic.
Charles Chapman was killing it. That was great twirling there.
He's got the twirls down. I was in awe. I was in awe. Jay, what'd you think of Master Indara?
She was the most cool-headed out of all of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, like it's funny that like the bureaucratic stand back and wait for the council to make a decision kind of individual is like the right person in this situation. That frustrates me so much.
The one time the council's right.
Yeah,
it does exist for a reason.
That's true. I mean, like these councils exist for these kind of moments, and for them to step in and say like, "Don't do this."
Did anyone else fill out an Master Indara apology form this week? For thinking that she was going to be like the aggressor for all of this.
Yeah.
Like I was on that, and she's like the exact opposite. Like I owe her an apology.
Right, I felt the same way too. Where it's like like episode 3, she seems like the real jerk and is like the one who's she felt like the one who was barging in and was the one who like wanted to who didn't want to look after these kids.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the exact opposite. But no, I mean, I think, yeah, I think that like what we were saying earlier, like, yes, they are like, I can see where people say like they're overreaching, but what I was gonna say too was this is a situation where like had cooler heads prevailed,
of course,
it would have just turned out so much differently. So.
And I think that's 100% true. But when you have a group that is like overreaching in that situation, it's going to cause tension, like on the opposite side. And then if you have the group that maybe is overreaching but doesn't even recognize that, they're going to get defensive probably and think we're just coming here with like noble intentions. Let's get into the whole Kanaka thing real quick, and then we'll make some final predictions. And then Luke, you can tie. Yeah. I want you to tie.
To give mine on that, but
okay, yeah, I was gonna throw that to you, but I was gonna also I wanted to get your opinion too on the mind thing with Indara as well, because you're super into like the force ability stuff. I know, like that's one of your things. So I was like, just gonna like set you up on the I was gonna put you on a pedestal here and then go, but go for it.
Yeah. I thought so I think before the episode we had right before Acolyte dropped, I was like, I think Master Indara is one of probably my top characters to get to know better, that I'm excited to see. So episode 1 starts out and she's like in the wrong there. She's facing this, person with some knives, unidentified force user, she calls her, and she dies episode 1. I'm like, man, I thought we were going to get to see more of her. We do in episode 3. And she's spouting Republic law on a place that is not in jurisdiction. And I'm like, Master Indara, you're just losing points with me all this time. I think episode 7 showed that she really won me back all the way. I think that she did about the best you could in this horrible mess of a situation. So the two things that are really like against her at the end of the day are that it seems as if she has killed all these witches in the process of cleansing Kanaka's mind. Something happened there. They're probably dead. And then also she has the chance there at the very end of the episode to put her foot down and say, okay, Master Soul, you have played a very big part, and I have too. I've been here on Brendock, but like you have played a very big part in this disaster. You need to own up to this. I will too. We're Jedi. We're better than this. We know we are. We stoop down to a lower level. We're all going to admit what has happened here. but she's the one that leads the charge to say, no, May started the fire, and starts the lie, the web of
Thinking of
lies
Ray
that spans out
Shields.
from there. Ray Shields.
What happened here? What happened here? We're better than this.
Apparently not, Master.
Apparently not.
So yeah, that's where she loses some points with me again. But I mean, I think she redeemed herself so much from attacking May. I mean, self-defending in May, and then she looked bad in episode 3 too. All the Jedi did, but here in episode 7, she's really saying all the right things, and it's 3 other people that she's with that are 2 other people that speak basic, that are really losing their heads here. So I think that she did the best out of the humans to try to quell this and try to right the track. And with 2 people that are as impulsive as Sol and Torben were in this episode, I don't think she was going to quell them both. As powerful as she was, or as much sway as she had, I don't think she was going to be able to do that. And I guess I'm going to put my foot down that, like, I think she killed the witches in Kelnocka's
She killed them. They're done. They're done.
I don't know if there's really discussion to be had there.
I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just they.
And I don't know if there was another option to. I don't know how the witches' magic works, so I don't know if there was another option to cleanse Kelnocka's mind. Was there another way to do that, to get Kelnocka back?
Right.
I don't know. So
we don't know that.
I don't know.
What did we think of the overall fight though between Sol, Torben, and Kelnocka? I thought it was really cool seeing the force of a Wookiee Jedi's lightsaber blows, and like I thought that was fantastic. Jay, what did you think of that like short sequence? I was in awe when Torben had the block, when he came in with
cool.
With the block. That was really, I thought that was the high point of one of the high points of the episode.
I was more surprised by, actually, though, like when Kelnocka goes in for like a haymaker with his lightsaber, and then Master Sol like blocks that lightsaber with his arm, and actually like parried that move, because that's the full strength of a Wookiee coming at you, and he parries in and disarms it right there. I thought that was super impressive, though. Like as far as like physical feats,
when he jumps over Kelnocka's lightsaber, and it looks like he's coming for a blow, but he deactivates his lightsaber in time because he knew it would kill him. That was really good. Luke, did you have a fun time with that scene?
Yeah, and the one that you just talked about, I saw someone kind of break that down a little bit more and said that like he could have met the lightsaber there and blocked it, but he turned it off. Kelnocka misses. He's now defenseless. He's missed his swing, and if Master Sol wanted to, he could have turned the saber back on before he landed and like dealt a killing blow, but he doesn't, and I think that stands well for him. He's not a bad person, so yeah, that was a really, really cool force foo, as I call it, like move there.
Just everything that happened in the episode shows us just why Sol never wants to ignite that lightsaber in the fight with May or in any situation.
Him and Coral. So he kills Mother Anasea, and Coral's trying to attack him, and he feels so bad that he's just done that, and he refuses to ignite it. Yeah. That was very powerful to me.
So let's wrap this up and talk about predictions for the finale. Like, how do we think what we saw here is going to tie into the finale? The main points is that there's this vergence in the Force. I think somehow there might be something that comes into play there. The twins are the result of like this vergence, or have a direct tie to this. They are one singular being split into 2. Something has to be addressed there. Leslie Headland has said we're going to find out exactly how the twins were made. We're going to find out some of these answers. So my question to you guys is really just, how do you think we're going to kind of wrap some of this stuff up next week? Is it I am so mad I'm not going to be here next Thursday. Okay, I'm mad but not mad. Actually, I might be here next Thursday. We'll have to see. I don't know what time my flight gets back next Thursday. I'll be honest. I'm going to check right now, actually, while you guys do this. So
please do.
I'm going to throw that to you, Jay. What do you think?
I think we're going back to Brendok. I think that
we're going
like
back to Brendok
in the present day.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
To clarify, I think that May, Osha, Master Sol, and maybe even the Stranger are all going to have like one big reunion there. and I think that like that might be like a big confrontation. I think though, like just one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and also just like as a prediction, is I think we're after this episode, I think we're definitely getting a second season. Like I don't, I you
You think
know,
they've already made that decision? Do you think they've
I
already
think they
made that
actually already
decision?
have. I think they actually already have said we're gonna make a second season. You
Then
know,
why not save that?
because if they say it while the season one is going, it might ruin some of the surprises. I think.
Also, the
Um,
Dragon said they're, the next season's already been greenlit,
I
like
think
we see other shows that like they greenlit those
They
episodes.
did that with
If
Bad
they're
Batch,
if
actually.
they are 100% sure before the series ends, a lot of times they'll be like, it's already, it's already
yeah.
greenlit.
I get that, but I think that like if you say that there's gonna be a second season, like then audiences might go like, oh, then like so and so is gonna live, and this and that is not gonna happen,
Right.
So I think
Fair.
that like, if anything, here's what like. I hate bringing this up because I hate it when they do this, but in the recent Marvel comics, they've been doing this where it has like it'll be like a 4-issue miniseries. Recent Mace Windu Marvel comic ended where it's like cliffhanger, the end, question mark, question mark, question mark, and it's like it's them waiting on the audience to see like, okay, did it sell well? We'll leave the door open in case it's sold well, but if it's the end, then we can just close it here. I think the Acolyte might have that, like,
And I
just that
think about
situation
it.
here.
Like I'm thinking about it, Star Wars hasn't really renewed their shows as their shows are going anyway. Like
Yeah,
Ahsoka season 3 wasn't announced for a while. Andor is the only one that really is like, hey, this is a 2-season thing that they said beforehand. Like this is 2 seasons.
I think they announced season 2 before season 1 even aired.
Yeah, they
Did they?
going into the project, they were like, this is like a 2-season like thing, like
Oh,
pretty much. Like they announced
maybe.
season
Yeah.
2 and they kind of said
I
how it's gonna happen.
I always thought that like it was just one season, and then Andor, no, like they confirmed the second season at Star Wars Celebration, but I may be
No,
wrong.
it was like, hey, this is going to be 2 seasons, boom, boom. Like this is what we're,
Sure.
and because we
Okay.
knew in the middle of the season, like it's going to be 12 episodes of like a year in between, like each arc, basically.
Yeah.
And like even Mando, like that we knew it was going to happen, but like I don't think they announced that until after the show finished.
Yeah.
So
Even with like Book of Boba
we'll
Fett,
see.
right?
And like Andor, like this person says right here, it was originally supposed to be like a 5-season thing, and they shrunk it down. But like we knew by the time the show was like airing, like we knew like okay, like 2 seasons was what we were going to be doing here. I'm pretty sure. So it says, do we think that David Harwood will be revealed as a Sith in episode 8 or a different character? They have to do something. I don't know if it's the Sith. I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. Leslie Headland, I believe Luke said last week that in an interview that she said that there will be another Sith that shows up in this, or at least someone who is claiming to be a Sith or something like that, kind of like Chimera. We don't know. It's kind of ambiguous. We've thought that might just be Osha declaring herself that, but there could be another Sith that pops in here, which would just be another perspective that we have to attend to. Like, how many different things are we going to have to, like, tie into one episode? I don't know. Luke, what are your predictions for next week? I did check my flight, by the way. I get in at like 6 p.m. I'm hopping on.
Please
I'll
do,
be on.
yes.
No chance I'm missing it.
We're doing predictions for episode 8,
I
and
might not be watching the episode until right before the live show, but I will be able to hop on.
what was that? End of episode 6, I was like, OSHA's gonna be the new. I was making all these claims. So I'm gonna do it again. We're gonna say Chimera is going to die.
Oh.
He's not making it out of this show.
Okay.
But there is another Sith that will show up, and the Sith will
Will
continue.
he die at that Sith's hand?
I think he will die at Vernestra's hands.
Ooh.
Um,
Tyler's like totally distraught.
What I have no problem with Vernestra taking out the bad guy. We
Oh,
talked
okay,
about
okay.
Yeah.
no problem with that. As long as it's not like her being like vengeful about something and like
No,
doing it
she's
in
not cold
anger.
blooded.
It's like I always want Vernestra to be the hero. And next week, the main reason why I'm choosing to like, get back, literally fly in for the show is so that way I can come on here and sing the praises of Vernestra, which, everything will work out perfectly for her next week. And everyone on the internet's going to be in unison about one thing. The fandom will be united over one thing, and it is the greatness of Vernestra Rowe. That's what's going to happen next week. I'm so thrilled to be able to proclaim that. I have seen the light. I'm like, this is terrible. It's like
Okay.
when he drinks the juice, Timothy Chalamet, Paula Tracy's like, I see a narrow way through. Like, great.
I'm gonna make a
not
I'm
a
gonna make a
character.
counter bet then and say that Vanessa Rowe is gonna be the one that dies.
Oh
So
man.
Vernestra dies next week. Not
Yeah.
Interesting.
What are we betting? I'll bet. I'll make a bet. Do something. I'll stand up for my girl.
We'll
You know,
we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it off stream.
Okay, I will stand up for my. If she dies in a blaze of glory, I'll gladly pay up. But no, I hope she doesn't die.
I have another one. I think May and Osha are going to reunite, hash things out. They'll both
up.
go off and live like together off. Like they leave the known. They're not going to be in the part of the story in the rest of the time. They're like, you know what? We've had enough of the Jedi. We've had enough of like Force people telling us what to do. We're done. Like we love each other. They like exit stage left.
If Vernestra does die, I'm sorry, Luke. I think that's a great theory. I just I'm hung up on Vernestra right now.
Per usual.
If she does die before
Trials
like
of the Jedi.
like an opportunity to redeem character a little bit, like from what we've seen so far, like this bland, boring character that may have or may not have like used her light whip to lash out against her former apprentice, possibly. Like if that doesn't happen, I will be so distraught. Like if she just dies and it's just this anticlimactic, boring death with no meaning for Vernestra Rowe, I will have a hard time showing up to me. I will be distraught. I will be reaching out to Justina Ireland to voice my apologies to her. Just my condolences for the character that she brought to life. That I'm so sorry that they did this to your baby girl. I'm so sorry. But that will not happen. So we don't have to worry about that. Luke, I think Osha's gonna be like evil, like she's going full bad. Like I think that they're gonna do that. I think that she is going to be the acolyte moving forward, and like it's gonna leave opportunity for more story with her, or if there's the Sith that ultimately get involved in this story, I think that's gonna happen. And it's gonna be centered around Osha maybe taking the place you said about like everything, but. Apparently in the comments, this is something we need to end on, which is the pop song like in the credits,
which was made for this show.
Right.
It's not just a random pop song. I think we need to clarify that this was made for the Acolyte. Like the lyrics, the song is called "Power of Two." I don't think this is a very controversial thing. It's not John Williams music.
I think it's more of the idea of Star Wars having like a pop song like in like the credits versus like the usual like
show
orchestral score.
I'll
the credits.
I'll take a stance and say like I am one of those people who did not like it.
Go for it, like give me more.
Yeah, okay. Because the thing is, like, I know I'm like one of the few people who sticks around at the credits whenever I watch a movie. I stick around no matter what movie it is. You know, if Marvel or not Marvel movie.
Right.
I stick around because I enjoy listening to the music and because it creates a interesting atmosphere, environments, soundscape, and it's part of the immersion of whatever I'm watching. I felt like this pop song really just killed my immersion. It did. Like I'm watching the Acolytes, and it just part of the immersion of Star Wars is like the orchestral soundtrack.
Mhm.
And when you have this kind of pop song, it breaks the immersion and it reminds me that like, oh yeah, it's not. I'm still in this present world, and like I'm not in this galaxy far, far away anymore. That's how I feel. Um, and yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't.
That's fair. That's fair. Everyone's
That
Yeah,
different.
is fair. Yeah, for sure.
I'm someone like it doesn't bother me at all. I thought it was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is different. And like to me, it's like there's a difference for me of like Star Wars movie, cinematic experience, Star Wars TV show. And each show has its own little like
sure.
feel. And this show has consistently, intentionally and unintentionally been a little bit like offbeat, a little bit different,
Breaking
and
norms.
something like, unique in that sense.
Yeah,
So I'm like, you know what? Let it have its little, weird song that's attached to it. Like I'll listen to a little songs like Star Wars. I don't care. Now, if this was a cinematic experience I'm watching on the big screen, like this is a Star Wars film, which to me holds a higher standard. Like there's a different standard there. There's like a quality and an expectation of what I'm supposed to be watching. And they put that in there, the credits, that would feel weird to me because it's not,
okay,
that
yeah,
doesn't feel like Star Wars at all. The TV show, I can get around it a little bit. It doesn't like really bother me that much, but I could see why some people are like, that doesn't belong here. But
yeah,
for me, I guess I just compartmentalize different areas of Star Wars into to different things at times. But it was a good show tonight, guys. I think we had a good show tonight. I had fun. Appreciate you guys coming on here tonight. I love doing the live show. I'm so glad, we're going to be on here next week. I think all three of us are going to make it. I thought I was going to be gone. I not be gone. I might not be able to watch the finale till Thursday. But everyone, just a quick thing. Go check out Monday. Miguel came on a couple months ago. We recorded 3 episodes on the upcoming Star Wars movie slate. And this last Monday, we dropped part 3 of Star Wars Newsnet Movie Talk, talking about Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire film. Go listen to that podcast. You can watch it on YouTube or listen to it here on Apple. Listen to Apple or Spotify. It's a really good discussion on like the expectations that we should or should not have coming into this movie. When can we expect this movie to start being worked on? Things like that. Luke and I are plowing through the timeline show, Young Jedi Adventures right now. Cute stuff. We dive into just random Star Wars. It's honestly probably, if you're looking for a 35 to 40-minute feel-good hour of Star Wars, it's probably like the time for you to listen to the timeline show and do that. Next Monday will be Luke and I's first mission of the month. Luke creates these really awesome like fake Star Wars missions, and then we draft a team from that era to fulfill those missions. It's a good time. We have a good time with that one. And so make sure you're staying tuned for everything. We have some fun podcasts lined up in the future. I won't be able to do my usual like episode short next week or any sort of character spotlight videos or anything this week or next week, just because I'll be out of town. But stay tuned for the Star Wars Newsnet YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. Thanks, Andrew. Really appreciate it. RG, thanks
Thank you,
for
man.
hopping in as always.
Thank you
Everyone
both.
else in the chat today, really appreciate you all. Luke, thanks for hopping on as always. Really appreciate everything that you're doing for the Monday shows that we're planning or the timeline show. It's really fun. Looking forward to getting into some books and stuff. But Jay, go ahead, take a moment, please. Let us know where we can find you else on YouTube.
Yes, I have my own YouTube gaming channel called Good Games Dude. Feel free to check it out. This week I did a in-progress review of the free-to-play looter shooter called The First Descendants. Really quickly, I actually really enjoy it, but there are some definite caveats. So feel free to check out my video review up on my channel. Again, that's Good Games Dude. And then also you can find me on StarWarsNewsNet.com, where I write, and I also just published the recent editorial discussing whether or not Star Wars should ditch weekly episode releases. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on that. Yeah, please.
Great topic for a Star Wars Newsnet Live. I think we can dive into it in the future.
Yes.
I think that will be a really good episode. Check out Star Wars Newsnet for all of your Star Wars stuff. We literally talk about, everything that has to do with the galaxy far, far away. We had some comic reviews come out this week. You can check out Sunday's piece from Miguel in the Galaxy Far, Far Away, where he recaps the week in Star Wars and tackles whatever issue is prominent that week in the Star Wars community. And check out Josh's character Spotlight article this Friday. I will not have a video accompanying that article this week as I am out of town, hanging with Luke for some reason. But for everyone, appreciate you all for light and life. Until next week, remember, we are all the Republic.